Every world has a story, and every story has a secret. We're the Warriors of Light, and today we're opening up the safe file and diving into the deepest mysteries of the Final Fantasy multiverse. This is Materia Junction, and I want to introduce right off the bat our first ever party member. Like we actually, Dad man, we have our first party member, and I just think this is super fucking cool.
Oh yeah.
So Millie, I would love to open it up to you real quick. Introduce yourself before we jump into why you're here. Just tell people where they can find you online.
Hey everybody. Well, I am so excited to be here and talking with you guys about Final Fantasy. Talk about like a perfect night. My name is Millie. You can find me on platforms as Millie Makes Movies. I am a filmmaker based in Los Angeles and really excited to talk about my next project with you guys.
I love that. So, Millie, before we jump into that next project, give us your Final Fantasy introduction. What was your intro to Final Fantasy? And what do you kind of give us a little bit of idea of what you love about it?
Okay, it's not really going to be a big surprise. My intro to Final Fantasy was Final Fantasy VII in 1997. My older brothers had a PlayStation, and while I was watching them, play Crash Bandicoot and all sorts of games, Final Fantasy was on the docket, and I was just blown away. Like everything about it, just the different graphics, how it was just a completely different sort of storytelling and turn-based like action. I fell in love with the story and then one day my brother finally gave me the controls when he told me the huge spoiler of Final Fantasy VII when Eris dies. I still obviously go I switch between Eris and Aerith. But anyway, I did not believe him. I thought he was messing with me because she was the most perfect video game character in the world and my favorite. So I had to play it myself to find out if he was right or not, and broke my heart.
You know what's okay, Dad man. I'm gonna let
I
you.
know
I'm
where
gonna let
you're
you tell
going.
this.
I
I'm gonna let you
I
tell
know
this
where you're
story
going
because
with
this is
this.
so fucking good.
So we have to preface this by saying spoiler alert to a 30-year-old game, but we Drew and I play Magic the Gathering with a group of friends of mine or whatever, and we spoiled the whole Aerith death scene to one of our buddies, Dave, and he was kind of pissed about it. And I was like, dude, it's like not a big secret that she dies. I didn't tell you how she died or why she died, but she's like, I don't know, like he would like, oh, I've never played it before. Well, dude, the game's old. Like, just play it already, and it's been remade, so just play it. Like, that's your
I
fault,
was
but
I thought he was joking when he was like spoiler. Like I was like, yeah, spoiler. I was like, how do you not know? Like how
yeah,
does like that is the worst kept secret like of all time. That of course Aerith dies, right? And so it was I don't know, it was so funny because and it just made me realize that like we talk about all the time about how to be able to get more people into playing Final Fantasy, right? How can they expand on their fan base? And that's part of what our conversations are going to revolve around today. But with all that kind of being said, there are still a lot of people out there who haven't ever been introduced to Final Fantasy or the Final Fantasy games who know the lore a little bit. Like Dave knows some of the characters. Like he was playing with an Aerith playmat. Like he loves the Aerith character,
that's
but he
awesome.
had no idea, you know, and so it just there's a lot of avenues and a lot of opportunities to be able to get more people into the Final Fantasy lore, and I'm looking forward to talking about that, kind of our main topic today. But before that, well, Millie, we got to talk about why you're here. So, you are working on what seems to be, I mean, best I can tell, you can correct me if I'm wrong, the first ever live action Final Fantasy film. It's going to be a prequel called Avalanche. Millie, give us your elevator pitch here. What is this movie about?
Yeah, I mean that's right. Live action fan film, very very adamant on the fan film for all legal purposes, which we've done
Of
our research
course.
on. And a live action prequel story to the world of Midgar prior to Cloud's arrival or return, if you will. And yeah, I don't even know where to get started, but this is going to be a love letter to Final Fantasy fans and a really great opportunity to transform the city of Los Angeles into the city of Midgar, which I think everybody can kind of agree on is literally like a city on a plate that has just been built up and tunnels underground, a lot of history here with that, and it just if anywhere in the world or anywhere in America anyway feels like Midgar, it's here. So this has been something I have wanted to do for a very long time. I've always had different ideas. I originally wanted to do a TV series and an episodic run of, different storylines of the citizens of Midgar, maybe following Johnny's story. Always like kind of interested in the characters of Avalanche because we just got so little of them, and I was always a little sad that they weren't playable characters, especially Jesse.
Yeah.
So I'm really glad that we got to get a lot more involved when in Final Fantasy VII remake and some of the books, but yeah, I think it would be a really great idea. So anyway, Final Fantasy VII live action prequel, and I can get a little bit more into the storyline if you have any questions.
Yeah, no, for sure. We'll go through a list of questions, kind of give you a chance to really kind of dive deep into this. But first of all, I love the call out for Jesse because Dadman and I were just talking about before you got on the how well Final Fantasy does with female protagonists. And Jesse is a very underrated character, and so
Mm-hmm.
I can tell. Hopefully I'm not throwing out here something you don't want, but I may or may not have. Read the script for this, and you captured Jesse so well in this. Like you really all the characters you capture well. But I told you one of my first pieces of feedback I sent you was like I'm hearing these characters talk like through your dialogue, which is awesome. But my first question to you, Millie, is like with Final Fantasy VII, it's arguably the most recognizable Final Fantasy IP. It's one of the most iconic worlds, and out of all the stories and characters and timelines within Midgard, what specifically about your story in as you were writing it and creating it, you were like, okay, I've got to this has got to go from concept to reality, and made you decide to pick up a camera and bring this particular piece to life?
Okay, there was a few different aspects. I think it's no big surprise of how much Final Fantasy VII is following our current state of the world very, very
Yes.
directly. And so I've also been calling this film a bit of a protest film because in the spirit of Avalanche, if Avalanche were citizens of Midgar, what would they do? They would totally make a protest film against Shinra, like protest videos, propaganda films, like back in the day, if you will. And so there was definitely that call because I think every one of us wants to speak out against the horrors going on in the world. And I've always, no matter how many protests I've attended, I've always felt really comfortable like using my camera to try to capture anything if I can and taking photos of the protesters and the voices and videos. So, in a way, like making this film is a way of doing that and having a protest in the form of the protesters in the city of Midgar and the world of Gaia, and yeah, kind of directly correlating it to what is going on in the world, and hopefully a not too subtle gesture, but not too overbearing. But also, I'm not gonna lie, I was working at a studio 2 years ago, in Los Angeles in Culver City, and the studio just it was a warehouse vibe, and it also had like one of those white cyc walls, super cool for sci-fi. But it just the warehouse vibe really reminded me of the Avalanche hideout, and I was working there and I thought of something. I was like, wow, this would be so cool to like film something Final Fantasy and like maybe in the Avalanche hideout here. So we started working on it, and then one thing or another, the studio shut down. But I got this idea,
Mm.
and it also like reignited this idea that I had had about the series, and making a proof of concept and turn it into a feature film is something that filmmakers do all the time in LA. So I was like, let me just make the short. Let me just at least make a teaser and get this out of my system. Like find a warehouse space, put something together really beautiful, really cinematic, and yeah, just tell this little bit that I want to tell. And then it got too captured. I started working on the script. I started working on the story, and I really wanted to dig more. So I just decided, regardless of anything, we're just gonna really guerrilla style shoot this film while we're also simultaneously crowdfunding and finding support from local businesses and the Final Fantasy community to basically crowdfund this feature film and make it happen.
That's so awesome. I, just the idea of the fact that like this started out as kind of a small itch in your brain. You were like, I've got to play this out, right? And it started with just a small short, and you were like, all right, let me just film the scene, and then all of a sudden it's like, no, I've got to bring this whole thing to life. Like in that process, what did you find to be like the most challenging from going from a video game medium into a live action medium? What has been the hardest part about this process?
Ooh, I mean, honestly, the hardest part was just the money because LA is so expensive for filming. That was the honest, I can say hands down, but this was such a delightful process. I think, like, I think any challenge that I met, like, I had this really wonderful team of filmmakers in LA. Like, um, I'm thinking specifically of a production designer that she worked with a friend of hers that is a Final Fantasy fanatic like the rest of us, and really got a lot of suggestions and pulled out all these art decks of giving me ideas of how to like really bring like fan specific nods and visuals of Final Fantasy to life, and it was fantastic. Like really truly, like I had the idea and then this team brought something really great together that really just like you should have seen me on set when they had built a full out like Avalanche layout with the flag that you see behind me
Mhm.
on the wall, the television, the couch, and the all of the things, literally down to like the whiteboard and specific little niche things from the original Hideout in 1997 that I never even really noticed, and they called out and just brought it out. I was like, wow, this is fantastic. So yeah, it ended up being like I find a lot of filmmaking when I get to direct my projects, it's a lot easier and so much fun because I'm working with such a great team. So there wasn't that many hard parts. Maybe casting. Oh, and making a Gatling gun. That wasn't easy. I'm definitely gonna get help for the feature film because I'm glad that's the one thing I haven't been trolled on, and I'm a little grateful slash surprised for that.
Listen, I think a majority of people just can just appreciate like what you're doing here, right? I think when fan film or not, when you think of Final Fantasy movies, it's not like it has the best reputation with the community,
Oh.
right? Like looking at you, spirits within,
Yeah.
and so I think that we're all just very appreciative of the story you're trying to tell and the lore you have behind it. And listen, the you're talking about the set design and all that kind of stuff. You have a trailer up on your website. Where can people find that? What plug the website? Where can they find the trailer and where can they donate at?
Well, thank you. So you can actually find everything, the trailer, the whole story, the cast, on avalanchefanfilm.com. www.avalanchefanfilm.com. This is a direct crowdfunding campaign. So rather than donating or rather submitting 10% of all of our efforts to projects like, Indiegogo or Kickstarter, this is directly crowdfunded through PayPal Donate. So it's still a really encrypted, safe system. You're not just handing over your card details online. Worked really hard on making the website as well as the teaser. But yeah, check it out. That's what you can also check out a bunch of incentives and rewards for donors. At the very least, shout outs on social media, all the way up to your own prop Gatling gun from the set. Because we're gonna have a couple, because Barrett is in the cast. So lots of
Nice.
other rewards and incentives, including like invites to a red carpet screening in LA, digital copy, and some really cool Buster Sword keychains that I got recently.
Ooh.
I absolutely love that. Yeah, definitely make your way over to the website www.avalanchefanfilm.com. Check it out. Like I just me and my wife spent probably 20 minutes just exploring your website and looking at the different things that you had the other night. And so definitely need to check it out and be able to immerse yourself in this experience, because I think it's going to be extremely unique and super special. And just as a couple of last little follow-ups, and Dad Man, if you have anything, interject here. But as you were writing this story, I believe you said it on the website, so I don't think I'm giving spoilers away, but there's an original character in this. Yes. Okay. Tell us a little bit about this original character and what inspired you to add to the lore of Final Fantasy.
Oh, yeah, I'm so excited to talk about this. So, I actually added a few original characters because, like I said, like I really wanted to dig into Midgar and the city there. Like, it was only one really short part of the game, and we didn't even get to explore anything in Disc 3 when you get to go back to it, and when we get to go back to it in the, Final Fantasy VII Revelation that they just announced. But I digress. I added a few original characters because I really wanted to like dive more into the city, but I also added a lot of familiar characters that everybody knows. But one that is really near and dear to my heart is Luke, who you can see a little bit of his story in the trailer. So definitely no spoilers there. Luke is one of the characters of Avalanche that is a fellow protester, and along with Biggs, Wedge, Jesse, and Barrett. And Luke is, I have a little bit of a spoiler that I kind of want to drop here, but I'll just keep going. But he's a great character, and I really thought of him because I have an actor friend named Connor in Los Angeles that I've worked with on a couple projects, including my directorial debut, and in just an absolutely wonderful human being and actor in general. And I wanted to write a specific person, but he's blonde hair with these bright blue eyes. And there was obviously there's Cloud, but I didn't want to just do a remake. This wasn't a Cloud story, so I thought about this character Luke, and it led to this whole series of like a storyline like highlighting some of the injunctions that are, happening in Shinra that also are kind of plays on what's happening in the world today. But I guess like it's I'll tell a little bit of the story. It's basically he's actually an autistic character, and on the spectrum. And in the script, it is actually highlighted as the Shinra spectrum disorder. And the health organization, or the head of health council at Shinra, actually deemed anybody that's on the Shinra spectrum disorder as less than qualified to be a Shinra employee or a soldier. So I'll just go ahead and just let that sizzle. That's a little bit of Luke's storyline, and there's some other like really fun little cookies and fan film nods like to the Final Fantasy universe with his character as well. So that's that, and it's like one of the characters. He's actually one of the lead characters, and it explains also why you don't end up seeing him with the Avalanche gang in Final Fantasy VII. So yeah, I'll leave that there.
I love that. Dadman, do you have anything you want to add or ask?
Yeah, when you were going through your process of like, I guess putting your team together, and you had to like, do your soft pitch, did you come across um more, I guess, fans? I guess because Final Fantasy VII is such a polarizing title in the franchise, and it's a lot more mainstream than some of the other titles. So when you were putting like your team together, were there a lot of already existing Final Fantasy VII fans, or were there people who really had to like dive into that world and educate themselves to be part of your project?
That's actually like the biggest bummer of the project. I'm like the only person on the whole crew
Ah.
or cast that it like played any Final Fantasy. Everybody that I talk to ever, it's just like they get the same answer. I know of Final Fantasy, but I've never played any of the games. I've never seen any of the movies. So I did some individual educating. I actually so my director of photography, who's like my right hand man on set, God bless him, he's a big gamer, and he actually downloaded and played Final Fantasy VII remake prior to production. Like when I first gave him the idea, like I mentioned, like there was like the one studio closed down, so we had all this time before we actually shot the thing. So he went and played the entire thing. He really, well, he says he enjoyed it, and I'm positive he did. But it also gave him a lot of like ideas and cues for the lighting design. Like if you notice, like in the game, there's like everything is really lit with this like warm tumescent glow because it's all under the plate. But there's a
Mhm.
lot of neon and like bright white light highlights, and it's really interesting to like translate that cinematically. And so that was honestly like some of the things that I really was excited to achieve when we shot this proof of concept. It was actually like around a year ago that we filmed it. I really wanted to be able to like show, you know, potential investors and people that would actually like help support and raise money and support this film in LA that know a little bit about the cinematic lighting and the filmmaking process. Like I didn't want to like just shoot this on a cell phone. Like I want to show them like we really know what we're doing. We could actually make this look beautiful in every aspect, from the fan film and Final Fantasy world aspect, and also from a cinematic fan film YouTube world aspect. And that's something else I like love to get into. It's just like pointing the finger at like, you know, the for indie filmmakers, the world on YouTube is really hot, obviously. Like I feel like that's an obvious statement with the movies that are coming out right now. Backrooms blowing up, like did really well, like horrified me. Obsession was absolutely wonderful. I loved that film. I don't think I've ever screamed and kicked my feet up in a theater like I did in that film. And both are coming from, you know, YouTube filmmakers that really got a lot of stir. That's fantastic. Like, I don't know. I feel like the world is like, you know, within our grasp for, you know, for once, like it's proving what indie filmmakers can do. I'm not saying that Final Fantasy like Avalanche is going to make it into the theatrical production, because that would end up as bad as Spirits Within. Honestly, let's be serious, you guys. But they would take all the control away from me. But I really do feel like, you know, this is something that I feel really passionate about, and I know it has the community of people that would watch it. And I've even been told by the biggest haters on my page, on my TikTok, that have dropped comments like, will I hate on this? Yes. Will I watch it when it comes out? Absolutely. So gotta be grateful for that.
That's a
Like, yeah.
win. Yeah,
But I
that's a
know the
win.
audience is out there, and I'm excited to bring it to them.
That's awesome. And then just one more thing. I feel like um maybe Spira is up there too, but I feel like Midgar in the Final Fantasy VII, not just the main title, but like the whole entire compilation of Final Fantasy VII, is like a character of its own. I kind of compare Midgar to how I would compare it to Gotham City. Gotham City, it's like its own living, breathing character, and Midgar is his own living, breathing character. And when you're playing in that sandbox, like did you approach the situation that way, knowing that, okay, yes, I have Jesse, I have Biggs, Wedge, Barrett, but I also have to kind of write or focus energy on Midgar as an organic entity as well?
I love the way you're phrasing that. Like, it's not, I didn't really specifically think about it that way, but I do so agree that like Midgar is literally its own living, breathing organism, as is the planet, obviously.
Right.
But yeah, no, I put so much consideration, like, and it was really, really my favorite thing about writing this, and something that I really want to make sure I'm honing in on, like, as like we get closer to actually shooting the thing, is like creating Midgar, really highlighting what it would be like to walk through the slums. Like, you know, we got a really great grasp of the remake and the graphic details there, and of course Rebirth as well. Like, but that's so into its own world. But yeah, I think like seeing it like in a cinematic way, and like in a live action way, particularly of, like what it would really be like seeing some of those spray painted graffitis, and seeing, you know, like particularly like the actual protests that are happening against like the Shenra and the employees, and the separation between the top plate employees and everything that's happening on the beautiful top of the plate, and then below with the slums. Like, I'm really looking forward to highlighting that with all the diversity of what is Los Angeles, and also making really special connections to parts of LA that are just feel so Final Fantasy. Like
Hmm.
the LA tunnels absolutely fascinate me. They feel exactly like, you know, the part when you hop off the train and you have to sneak your way into, what is it, Sector 5 reactor.
Hmm.
And there's some abandoned places, abandoned power plants that are just, you know, it feels like, well, it feels very Midgar out here sometimes, and I'm so excited to show that, and like hope to get that connection across.
That's awesome.
I love every bit of that. I'm so ridiculously excited to be able to see this, and honestly, if you guys haven't checked out the trailer, if you haven't seen this online, I was just scrolling through TikTok and I found your video. You're like asking people like, hey, if there was a live action Final Fantasy fan film, would you watch it? And I was like, okay, what is this? Like, I instantly stopped and I sent it to Dad. Man, I was like, I don't know if it's going to be a long shot. I'm going to reach out. Like, I want to know if if they'll guest on with us and talk to us. And I'm so thankful that you are. So again, www.avalanchefanfilm.com. Go support, like, share, donate if you're able. But if anything, just get the word out about this fan film, and get it in front of as many people as absolutely possible. So, Millie, thank you for sharing about your journey for your Final Fantasy fan film, and I just honestly I can't wait. And listen, we're you're obviously in LA. I'm in Oklahoma. I don't know if I ever shared that with you or not. I'm in Oklahoma.
Nice.
Dad man is in Pennsylvania.
Uh-huh.
But if a red carpet invitation end up in my mail, I assure you I will do everything in my power to be there. So I would love to be able to share that experience. So no pressure though. You're still
No,
going to make the cut of the episode
please.
if one doesn't show up.
Yeah.
So
That's
I've got family in
absolutely
LA,
going to
so
happen,
I'll
and
definitely.
I've got T-shirts coming for both of you. Like we have like
Nice.
T-shirts as one of the rewards. Wearing my V-neck right now. So yeah,
I love
definitely
that.
got T-shirts coming both of your way, and yeah, thank you guys so much for having me. Like this has been amazing. It's like I want to talk to you guys so much more about Final Fantasy and the games and the remake and like how you guys feel about certain things and like no
Well,
spoilers.
are you sticking around for the rest of the show? Are you good to stick around for a little bit longer, talk some Final Fantasy?
Oh my gosh, yeah, absolutely.
All right. Perfect. All right, so we're going to transition, guys. We're going to explore the Final Fantasy multiverse. So this is the segment where we kind of just talk a little bit about Final Fantasy news, the content and Final Fantasy content we've been consuming. And I don't know. There was a little trailer that dropped this week. I guess we should probably talk about something in the Final
Okay.
Fantasy VII realm. What was it like? Resolution or what was it? A revelation? I don't know. Something
Yeah.
rather. Some kind of I don't know. I don't know who's been asking for this third installment of this remake trilogy by any means. No, Final Fantasy VII Revelation. They dropped the trailer at Summer Game Fest. I guess by the time you guys are watching this episode, it's been a couple of weeks. But for us as recording, it was this week that it dropped. And um, I'm just going to start us out by saying one, ridiculously excited to get this third installment. Two, if I'm being honest, I was underwhelmed by the trailer. That being said, that's my own expectations running wild on what I wanted out of this trailer. This was a great announcement trailer for this game. It really was. I think just because we've all been waiting so long for it, and for word, my expectations was like I need it all, right? But when you're talking about just it was a announcement trailer for the third installment of this game. It was beautifully shot. I thought it was very cinematic in feel. The gameplay I thought all looked phenomenal in it. I love being able to see what we can expect from Vincent and Sid, in combat and things like that. A couple of things that were lacking in this trailer that were noticeable to me that I think was intentional was no Aerith and no Zack. And I think that that's extremely intentional. I think that Aerith is going to have a huge presence in this
Mm-hmm.
third game. But other than my disappointment, because I don't know, I want to play the game like right now, and I was like, oh, that's all we get. Fantastic announcement. And I don't really give two shits about the name. The name is the name. It's just a piece of marketing. I don't really care about the name, but I just thought the trailer itself was great. So, Dad, man, I'm assuming you saw it.
I did.
What were your first thoughts?
Um, my first thought was this is going to be another 120 plus hour ordeal for me. Um, which is it's like a gift and a curse.
Who
But
needs
like the
family time, man?
subtleties, right? Exactly. The subtleties that I picked up on is what I was interested the most. So like, there's a part in the reveal trailer where they have like the menu open and it has like all the characters listed, and at the bottom there's a space where like Aerith would fill in, but they didn't render the screen to take that spot away. So I don't know if they're just it's an homage to her being a deceased character, or if there's going to be another character that fills into the party later on in the game.
I have a
So
bold
I
prediction for that one. I'll
I, I
toss it
hope
in
I
on the
hope
end,
it's I hope it's Zach. I hope they do some weird multiverse shit where like Zach is like on the real timeline and he's like the true hero of the story because he should be, but that's a conversation for a different day.
Oh,
And then the other thing I noticed is they're I don't know if it's like confirmed or whatnot, but like the outfit changes kind of gives me like job system vibes, because I did see Tifa like wielding some magic and she's not really a magic user. So I don't know if maybe they're going to incorporate that since their mage is gone, because Cloud was kind of wearing like almost like a knight outfit. So maybe they're going to introduce like the job system into this iteration of it, which would be really interesting, I think.
Billy, how about you? What did you think of this announcement? What did you think of the trailer?
I got so excited. I want to play all of Vince's transformations. Vincent's transformations. That's
Yeah.
all I want. I think that this is going to be fantastic. Like, yeah, it looked absolutely stunningly cinematic. Like as soon as they opened it with the shot of weapon, it's just like, and it
Oh
was
yeah, that's true. Yeah.
screaming, and then everybody's running
That
around
godlike
screaming.
shot of Sephiroth, right? Where we're all like they were all kind of climbing up to him, and you can see Cloud. Like, well, okay, you can see. We're assuming it's Cloud. You don't actually see his face. I mean, I guess there's potential it could be Zack that he's holding in his hands, but like, well, and then he has the one wing coming. Like that was so beautifully well shot. Like fucking chills.
They better have done a really good job for how long. And like, I didn't think that there was anything like crazy, but I wasn't expected because well, we all know how this is like we all kind of know like the one of two ways that this is gonna go down ish. Like really like I'm ready for them to just like completely like rip my brain out and do something that I'm not expecting. I want that. I kind of need that. I would love like some resolution just with everything would be really nice.
So this is definitely tinfoil hat theory here, okay?
Mhm.
Um, but we've talked about Millie. We've talked about how this is clearly kind of setting up to be, well, in our opinion, like a multiverse type storyline, right?
Mhm.
Like it's taken some liberties from the original game. I'm throwing it out there, bold prediction that empty slot that you see, is going to be Marlene. I'm just kidding. It's not going to be the little girl. That would be
Oh, I thought
crazy,
you were
though, wouldn't it?
I
serious for a
love
second. I
that.
was gonna
No,
be like, that's
no.
huge.
It's going to be Zach. And here's my first of all, uh, Millie. I certainly hope you don't just exit the show. I think Zach is the most overrated character in all
Oh,
of Final
you
Fantasy.
gotta
I
stop with
I hate
that.
the Zach character. Um,
You have to stop
but
with that.
but with that being said, I think the reason why you see um, wardrobe changes from these characters is because I think they are Zach's universe's versions of these characters. And
Interesting.
so
Oh.
because there was no outfit change between Rebirth and Remake, they were wearing the same outfits. And now you could say, well, they came right from Midgar and you jumped right into Rebirth, whatever, right? But there was no even options for us other than the change in armory and weaponry and materia. It was all the same outfit. So to me, this felt like a complete shock. That now I thought Tifa and Cloud looked really super cool, but it was kind of a complete shock. And what leads me to believe this is there's one shot where one of the weapons, it's like a wide landscape shot, and it's Tifa and only Tifa running straight at the weapon in her normal Tifa outfit. So maybe that's just timing of the game. And again, this is all tinfoil stuff, but I would not be shocked if this ends up being a amalgamation of both universes coming into one, and we see, Zach's world's Tifa, and that's also why I think we're going to get an Aerith back in this game. I think the Aerith we know is truly gone outside of Cloud's visions and what he sees at the end of Rebirth. Um, but I think it's going to be a little bit of a wonky like multiversal thing. So I don't know. I'm probably going to be totally wrong. Maybe it's just an outfit change you can buy for 50 gil at like your local shop. But I just think that I think there's got to be something there, and I'm surprised more people aren't talking about it. I really am. They're talking about the
Yeah.
magic portion of it, but the outfit change. Tifa looked freaking amazing. I love the Tifa character. I'm more of an Aerith guy, if I'm being honest. I love Aerith more than I do Tifa, but I thought she looked really cool. So that's kind of my tinfoil
That
hat.
is a really
Any
good
any
theory.
anything else that stood out for you guys for the trailer? It's coming spring 2027. We're 9 months away. So
I'm kind of mad that it's 2027 though. Like, I get it. Like the Switch and the Xbox Rebirth, like they just came out for Switch 2 and Xbox, but like we have to wait a whole nother year. Like, I think we talked about it though. Like
yeah,
2027 is the 40th anniversary of Final Fantasy, right?
yep, yeah.
So I guess it makes sense. Square Enix is obsessed with milestones. But like to me, like I feel like, and this is where we're gonna go back to like Final Fantasy VII being the baby of the IP. Like it's so not forced down our throats, but it's so far and above the most popular. I would have rather Final Fantasy VII Revelation come out in like November or December of 2026 for holiday season, and then them do like something major for the 40th anniversary that's non Final Fantasy VII related, because I feel like, and we talked about this before, I feel like we're stuck until this remake project is over. Like there has not been any information on where the franchise is going moving forward, and I think we're stuck until FF7, until like we're done with it. I'm glad they did announce Dragon Quest 12, but there's still no like inklings on where Final Fantasy is going. So that's the only thing I'm like upset about.
So I'm just telling you right now, if you want more Final Fantasy anything, just go check out www.avalanchefanfilm.com, and you can there's
Hell
your
yeah.
40th anniversary drop right there.
Hell
So
yeah.
um,
Boom.
other Final Fantasy news that dropped, we speaking of anniversaries, we are celebrating the 25th anniversary of in my opinion, the even though it's not my favorite, Final Fantasy VII is my favorite, but the best Final Fantasy game of all time, Final Fantasy X. 25th anniversary. There's a lot of really cool product and artwork that's dropped, including the one that I'll pick up will be a vinyl set of the soundtrack for Final Fantasy X, and I think that's going to be really cool. And then also, this has been out for a while, but we keep forgetting to talk about it on these episodes. Final Fantasy 14 dropped an expansion type trailer for I don't Evergold or something like that. I don't remember. I don't remember quite the name, but that looked really really cool. I have never played Final Fantasy 14, but that definitely is on my radar now because of that. So a lot of Final Fantasy news out there. So go check it out, guys, and make sure that you're caught up to date. So, Millie, have you ever played Final Fantasy 6?
No, that is one of the ones that I have not played. I'm kind of
Okay.
working my way through the docket of the games that I haven't played, and I'm afraid that I'm gonna get addicted to 14, so that's gonna be like the last one.
No, that's fair. Okay, so do you know the storyline of Final Fantasy 6 though? Are you familiar with any of the story tropes or
Honestly,
um
I'm probably gonna get it mixed up, like, so with one of the other ones I
okay.
haven't played, drop it on me.
Okay, perfect. So right now, Dadman, go ahead and introduce the segment for us if you don't mind. Roll it in
Oh,
and
yeah.
let's share a little bit about what we're doing here.
So on our last episode, we talked about doing like a game of the month type thing, which monthly gaming progression at our advanced age and with our lifestyle was a little bit ambitious. So I'm officially rebranding it to Next Game Up. But we talked about wanting to complete the Final Fantasy catalog as well, because we have played a lot of them, but not all of them. And so I figured, we can kind of hold each other accountable like gym buddies and just kind of play through the game individually, but together, and just kind of, certain checkpoints and like give updates and stuff like that. So the first title we chose was Final Fantasy VI. And so far, I can see why a lot of people have this as their number one Final Fantasy game of all time. As I'm playing it, like it's so good. The music is obviously Final Fantasy music is always good, but this music is really good. And then we were talking just before the show, if they were to do like another remake, give the Final Fantasy VII remake treatment to another game. As selfishly as I would love for a Final Fantasy VIII remake, because it is my favorite game of all time, Final Fantasy VIII, I can understand why. I would think Final Fantasy VI would be that next great title to give that remake treatment to, because so far I'm just for knowing that it came out originally like in 1996 on the Super Nintendo, and like how good this game is, like I'm very, very impressed with what I've played through so far.
Yeah, I think going through, I'm just shy, or I guess I guess I'm about at the halfway point. So for those of you who know the storyline of the game, trying to refrain from major spoilers, but I'm almost to the twist right in the game, the big twist, and I will tell you so far, the storyline I absolutely love. I love the introduction of magic into this game and the way that they decided to go about the character developments, especially with Terra. Just phenomenal. I will say definitively, unless of the ending of this game just really really sucks. Kefka definitively is my
Oh, he's
second best
so
villain of Final
oh
Fantasy lore.
oh,
Dadman, would you venture would you love to tell everyone who is the best villain of Final Fantasy and of all time? I'm going to let you throw that out there. Go ahead and let the
it's
world
not
know.
Sephiroth. I can tell you that it's not
How
Sephiroth.
listen, Millie,
How do you
this
have?
man doesn't
How do
even
you
have
have?
Sephiroth. I've
How do
triggered
you
Dadman.
have? How do you have? Like the fact that you just said that. How is from what you've played so far? How, in any way, shape, or form, can you comfortably rank Sephiroth as a better villain than Kefka?
Bro, there's so much of a gap in between Sephiroth and Kefka that you could fit
Ah,
Sephiroth's fucking sword in between. Okay, like there is
oh,
that. Like, look, this right here, this man right here holding Cloud up, by his sword. Like there's that much gap at least between him and Kefka. It's not even close. But with that being said, Kefka is an amazing villain in this. And I just we've talked about this a little bit off air, but the Joker vibes that he gives,
yeah, yeah.
just a phenomenal villain, and I can't wait to see how the rest of this game kind of sticks to landing. So if you guys have been following along with us, social media, through the podcast and whatnot, make sure to drop in the comments where you're at in the game. We're not too concerned about spoilers, obviously, but just make sure that you're not, listen, this is a what 30
Yeah, it's old.
1 2 year old game, something like that.
Yeah.
So Dave, if you're watching this podcast, understand, we're going to try not to give any Aerith dies type spoilers to it, but drop it in the comments below. Let us know where you're at, your current thoughts in it, and why that the opera scene might arguably
Oh
be
my god,
the most beautiful scene of any Final Fantasy
so
game.
good.
I think, if I'm being honest, probably second to Yuna's
You
sending scene.
descending? Yeah,
Yeah. And
yeah. That's
so,
fair. That's so fair.
all right, but drop in the comments. Make sure to let us know below. Next game up, I think our goal probably will be to finish this before the next episode. And here in a
Hmm.
couple of episodes down, we're gonna have a cosplayer guesting with us to talk about Final Fantasy VI, because this is her favorite game, and kind of a cool entry point there. So let's move on to our main topic, though, guys. Like the second main reason why we're here, obviously, first was to talk to Millie about Avalanche fan film. The next thing, we couldn't not have a guest in our party like Millie and not talk about Final Fantasy and how it can go transmedia and kind of escape the world of video games and explore other mediums in order to better the brand and to get its name out there, right? And I understand on the surface when you're like, okay, like really, like Final Fantasy needs to really work on getting its name out there. Like I would argue that Final Fantasy, if it doesn't evolve in the next 10 or 15 years, is going to find itself in the same space that Star Trek finds itself now. And hear me out, entertain this here, right? So Star Trek, a beloved franchise 30 or 40 years ago, is now only fueled by a fan base that is literally dying off because it has not converted new fans into the space. I think you're going to run into that same issue of your Final Fantasy. When you get to Final Fantasy 20, 21, 22, it's still going to be my 40-year-old ass playing those video games, and you've got to get more people involved and invested in your franchise, right? Millie, I think I told you this. One of my I guess proud dad moments is that my son can recognize one winged angel by like the first note or two of that song. So clearly I'm raising my child the way he should be raised.
Clear.
But you know, like we've got to expand. You've got to be able to bring in a new audience. And in a world where everyone thinks that, oh, if I play Final Fantasy 16, I've got to play the other 15 before it, we've got to figure out a way to get people invested into it. So I want to do a little experiment here. I want to kind of talk about ways that we can other avenues, other mediums that we can explore Final Fantasy here. So what we're going to do is we're going to have one rule in place. Final Fantasy VII is completely locked out of this conversation, right? Millie has the lock on Final Fantasy fan films. We're not touching that shit because we can't do it better than she can. So we're going to leave Final Fantasy VII alone. But we're going to talk about 4 different mediums, and we're all going to pitch an idea of what Square Enix will do and what they should do in order to explore avenues in these different mediums. So we're going to look at movies, TV series, scripted podcasts like audio dramas and things like that, and any kind of like park or themes or immersive pop-up experiences, right?
Ooh.
We've already seen some of these come out. So movies, we had Spirits Within, but you also had Advent Children, which better received than Spirits Within, but still some mixed audience reviews there. We've never really had anything in the world of television series. I mean, some anime stuff that's come out and things like that, but I'm talking about like true live action television series. Audio dramas. I'm a sucker for a good audio drama. Like I will sit there and I drive so much for work. I'll listen to a 10-hour audio drama any day of the week. But then also Final Fantasy VII had these like little immersive pop-up experiences. I think there was some out in LA where like Seventh Heaven had a pop-up experience out there. I almost drove out there for that because that would have been so cool to be able to go to. Did you go to that?
I
Really?
lived there.
Oh,
I
so
yeah,
good.
I met some really cool people there. Some fans that were willing to do some like content for the TikTok, which has been like amazing marketing for the fan film. Obviously found you lovely folks on there. And but yeah, honestly, it was such a great experience. I loved it and everybody was so kind. There was such a big final face. I met John Eric Bentley there. I mean, come on. He was the nicest person. He actually thought that the fan film was like so cool. He was like, "This is the coolest thing I've seen all day." So, that was like a dream come true moment. Absolutely wonderful. And there were several
I
times that
love
he
that.
just like he did like the da 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 da, like was saying it really loud, and everybody just got silent and then like screamed. So, anyway, yeah, that was a heck of an experience. I really enjoyed that, and like they were really nice. They even offered to like let me film there for Seventh Heaven scenes if I so needed or
Nice.
wanted to. It's like stick around.
That's so cool. Dad, man, did you see these pop ups for Seventh Heaven?
I did not.
You've gotta go.
I'm kind
You can pull it up on TikTok. Pretty simple. I mean, if you just go to Millie's page, you'll be able to see where she was. Because you were interviewing people there, right? Like you were in
Yeah,
there
yeah, I got
for
a
it.
couple videos
Um,
there. Videos like
it was
showcasing. Oh God, it was so
it
cool.
was just it was so cool, man. It really was like, and I love those kind of experiences. I think that they are very unique and special. So, um, let's dive into this a little bit. Let's talk about the silver screen. Let's talk about movies. So I'll start us off. I'm going to give you guys what I believe that Square Enix will do
Mm,
and what I think they should do in the world
of.
of movies. Okay, so um, and here's why we separated this from will and should is because sometimes my personal opinion, not going to speak for the group here, but I think sometimes Square Enix has a big disconnect with their fans, which is crazy to think. You know, with the franchise has been going on for 40 years, but I think sometimes, especially as of late, you know, post Final Fantasy X, they kind of they have dollar signs in front of them more often than not, and I get it. I mean, that's what they're there for. Like, they hear
Mhm.
me out when I say this. Their only purpose as a company is to make money. Yeah, they want to make great video games while they do it, but they want to make money, right? Like, so that's what they're there
Mhm.
for. But I think you can have both, right? But if you're talking about movies, um, I think that Square Enix, if made a live action Final Fantasy movie that isn't Final Fantasy VII, I think they will do Final Fantasy 16. I think
Mhm.
it's too easy for them. It's low hanging fruit with Game of Thrones vibes, with you know, some of the things that you've gotten on television like Witcher and things like that. Like, I think that there's a lot of um, excuse me while my dog's barking there in the background. I think that there's a lot of low hanging fruit for them to really be able to go after, and I think that it probably is the safest bet for them. If I'm being honest, if they were going to invest in a live action movie. However, I don't think that's what they should do. If I had to pick a property for Final Fantasy to make a movie for, it would hands down be Final Fantasy X. And not just because I love the movie, but because Final Fantasy, when I think it's hitting on all tropes and hitting every mark, is when it's pointing a mirror back to society. And I think that if you're taking away Final Fantasy VII out of the mix and you put in Final Fantasy X, the religious aspects of Final Fantasy X will point a mirror back at the world and give us conversational pieces to really be invested in. And I also think that the storyline is, I think the storyline is the most simplistic of any Final Fantasy game while still being the best of any Final Fantasy game. Like, at its core, it's a very simple story told through Yuna, seen through Tidus's eyes. And I think that it it translates well to writing this into a screenplay, translated it into a movie. So that's the route I would go. I'd go Final Fantasy X. I think they would go Final Fantasy 16. Millie, I'm gonna kick it over to you next. What do you think in the world of movies? Where would they go and what should they do?
Well, I guess I got a question first. If for Final Fantasy X live action, would there be Blitzball?
Oh, they would have to be.
I mean, I feel like
Like,
there would have to be,
I mean, it would
but I
be
feel like that would
CGI. I can't
be
imagine insurance will cover will cover
I
someone
feel like it'd be
underwater.
the most unnecessary scene of the film, but it's so necessary for the fans. It's the one of the joys of making a fan film. Actually, so I honestly like it's funny you said 10 because when you said a live action, I was like 10 would be such a good live action. That would be so beautiful. I would love to see that. But I've really been really interested in like some of the literary media that Square Enix has been releasing, and like like there's a lot of Final Fantasy like 7 books that I've been reading and collecting like as part of like, you know, like part of just the joy of I love everything about Final Fantasy
Hmm.
7, but also like store like, you know, a little bit of research and just like expanding my own knowledge of this universe. And honestly, the books have been doing so well. I could see them releasing more of those, especially as the remakes are continuing. Like, there's only 3 right now, so I could see that happening. And also, like, leaning into like the graphic novel or the manga sort of deal. Because, like, manga, like, they already did the anime, but like, tracking it to like specifically like graphic novel stories and stuff like that. I could see that. I also, if they were to make a movie, I could see them doing a live action, but it would be something it would be like spirits within, and like the way of it's not related to any individual Final Fantasy movie, but its own
Yeah.
Mhm.
story that like also just kind of falls in those ranks, hopefully beautifully and well written. I would
Mhm.
love to see that, honestly. I would love to see them continue to build onto the world and do a live action and like invent new stories and new characters that make us fall in love. I also, honestly, I'm the only person I know that actually liked Spirits Within, but I was really hung, you guys. I
Mhm.
was, I was
Mhm.
like, this was great.
I wanted to like it. I really did. I remember sitting there in the theater with my brother who kind of introduced me to Final Fantasy, and we both walked out of there being like, well, there was that was a movie. And so, Dad man, what about you? What do you got on this list?
Oh. So it's funny, like we've talked about Spirits Within twice already, and it's like I know I watched it. Like I know that I actually went to the theater and I watched it, but I can't remember anything of it. And I don't know if it's because it was bad or if it's because my mind has just blocked that experience off because it wasn't it wasn't to me, it wasn't really like it just had the Final Fantasy name on it. But anyway, we could talk about that another time. To answer your question about movies, what I think they will do is I don't think they will do a movie, and I think it's because of the lack of success they had with Spirits Within. Right, like at the time they made Spirits Within, like Final Fantasy was a lot bigger. It was a lot more recognizable, and they kind of fumbled the bag with it. And I think they have scarring from that because they haven't like done anything. I don't think Advent Children got a theatrical release.
I think
I
I
might
got a
be mistaken.
limited theatrical release.
Maybe a limited
Yeah.
one, but it wasn't like a major motion picture studio that distributed it. So I don't think they will do anything. I just think that they might just be like, you know what, like that's not our realm. What I think they should do is kind of along the lines of what Millie was saying. I think they should do a movie, the Final Fantasy movie, but I think it should be its own independent story and like really flex like the writing muscle, um and write like a good story because I think it's very hard to not translate, but it's hard to retell a story that you've already seen play out so many times. And as much as I would love a Final Fantasy X movie, like I know that story like the back of my mind, right? Like it's such a familiar story to me. It would be nice to see it translated to the big screen, and I think that movie or that game would translate probably the easiest to the big screen. Um, but I want something new. I want something new to grasp to, and I want something new that's going to attract a newer generation of fans. And I think that would be the way to do it.
Yeah, but I think when you think about movies though, right? Like this is us nerds talking about what we'd like to see and wouldn't like to see. The vast majority of moviegoers have no idea what Final Fantasy X is, right? And how it would play out and things like that. And I think that if you did it, um I think that you could do it in a way, even if you just did like I think you would have. I'm not a fan of like reshooting things beat by beat. So like animated movies that they turn into live action, like I understand that it's a no win situation. If you take liberties and change it, people are going to bitch and complain. If you keep it the same, people are like, why did you even make it? Um, but I just think that there's a large, vast majority of people who don't know what Final Fantasy X is who would go see that movie. Like, Millie, Dadman knows this, but I just went to Magic Con in May, and we drove from Oklahoma City to Las Vegas to go to it. And
Nice.
during that time, I had my sister in law in the truck with me, and I had 17 hours of uninterrupted time, one way there, one way back, to try to convince her to give Final Fantasy a shot because she didn't know anything about the games, didn't know anything about anything, right? Um, and so she won't ever play a Final Fantasy game because she doesn't have the time to invest in playing one. She would 1000% go see a Final Fantasy movie, and I think that's how you broaden to try to get more people in, right?
Get
I think
that.
there's also other avenues, television shows. Millie, you had mentioned that you had tossed around the idea of writing up a television series for Final Fantasy. Walk us through, like, what do you think that would look like for Final Fantasy for Square? Like, is there any properties that you think translate well to television series?
Oh gosh, you just awakened so many ideas for my brain. So I'm gonna try to steer away from like Final Fantasy VII because I don't sound like too much of a nut job. I've played the other games. I'm on 15 right now. It's 15. I'm addicted to the side quest. But once again, before I go too far off, I could like I originally came up like was thinking of like the idea of a TV show for like the city of Midgard, like I was saying, but now like since I've already worked on that idea, like a TV show just like something Game of Thrones fantasy-esque, like set in like a world similar to like with the like production design of a Game of Thrones or a Lord of Rings style with all of the different areas and focusing on the four different storylines of like the fighter, the mage, the thief, the oh darn it. I'm blanking out. And the member number four, like the four party system and like following their independent storylines and like how they all come together like a first specific quest, and it'd be like it could be something as cool as dragons, and it could be something as cool as like ancient beasts. Like I would actually like really like to see something that's like loosely based on like the like an adaptation of the original game like that, and
Mm-hmm.
backstories of like all of the party characters. Like I think that would be, yeah, I think that would be something really cool for the fans, but also like in like the world of series that we're in right now and people really into like the mystical stuff. Like I think people would give it a go just being familiar with Final Fantasy, and they could do a really good job, like especially with the original storyline. It could be so open-ended.
I agree with that. Dad, man, how about you?
That's you so interesting because I was gonna say something completely different, and then you said what you said, and I kind of want to change mine. But no, I mean that what you said was really fascinating. Like following the story of like the job system, but like making it like this story related. It would be super interesting. But you said you're playing Final Fantasy 15. I actually think if I were to make a show, I think Final Fantasy 15 would be the game that translates best to that long media structure. Final Fantasy 15, as far as the game is concerned, wasn't received very well. There's a lot of that game was like in developmental hell for the longest time, and there's like so many different stories and this, that, and the third, and the gameplay is questionable. But the story, like the narrative of that game, I really, really enjoyed. And it's a story of like four bros like broing it out, right? And then like growing up and like all these things, and kind of like the Noctis, right? Like he is inheriting this kingdom that he doesn't want. Like he's like the reluctant king. Like it sounds like a good story that would play out good like on a episodic structure. And then you could do like they did in the games. They had episodic DLC where they did backstories for each individual side character or like party member, and they kind of fleshed out the story that way. But unfortunately, as far as the games were concerned, it wasn't included with the original cut of the game. That came later on, which is just an issue with DLC as a whole. But after I think a year or two of 15 being out, they came out with the Royal Edition, which is a complete collection of all the side stories and everything like that kind of put together. So if you haven't played 15, I hope you enjoy it if you're playing it. But Drew, you definitely have to play 15 because the story is really good. I would do a 15 show. I think you could get probably 2 seasons out of it. Um, Season one, I'd end in a cliffhanger. I don't want to give too much away because you're playing with it. You're playing it now, but I would end season one on a cliffhanger and then come back season two and like finish the story out. I think it would be a really good television show if it was handled properly.
See, I think that's the one that they would do. I think to your point, I think that translates well into a television. Like you imagine, like a Netflix or HBO Max or something, like being
Yeah.
able to kind of put this together. I think it would translate really well. That's not the one I want, though, right? I think that's the one they do. It's not the one I want. The one I want, and like more than any movie, more than anything else, like I want to see a Final Fantasy VIII television series.
Oh
I
yeah.
think I think Final Fantasy VIII, um, when you're looking at first of all, when you're looking at like the young adult trope of television series, I think it hits those marks. But also, um, I think with the military academy with Seed, I think it it does well to set up an episodic series where like you could expand the lore of Final Fantasy VIII and have like certain missions be certain episodes of that series as you're going through like an 8 episode season. And I think that you could stretch it out to be 4 seasons. There's 4 discs with the game, and I think structurally, is you're gonna have to add to it, because I think once you start getting like, especially I know Millie that you said you haven't played Final Fantasy VIII yet, right?
No, not yet. I know of it, like, and I know like the
Okay,
basic storyline, but not.
so without
Great game.
without giving any like major spoilers with it or anything like that, right? Aerith dies in it. Um, uh, no,
Terrible.
without giving any spoilers. Disc 2, in my opinion, from what I can remember, it's been a while since I played. That's the part where like it really stretches us out, and it feels like a long game. Like it's only part of the game. Everything past that, everything before that, really well timed. That portion of it just feels really stretched out. And so I think you're gonna have to figure out how to add some of that stuff there. But at the end of the day, I think the romance between Squall and Renoa gives you the love, storyline of it. I think characters like Zill, give you like that kind of like, I don't know, typical jock slash like, like he's the kind of guy that you could have a really cool story arc with, right? That could start out in one way, and then by the time you get to the end of season 4, could be like, wow, he has a very awesome story arc or whatever. But then I also think Squall. I think Squall is one of the most underappreciated Final Fantasy protagonists, in all of Final Fantasy. I think it could set up really well with Squall. Um, but again, I think that they probably, I think Square Enix is probably going to stay far away from Final Fantasy VIII because of how mixed reviews are with it. Oh, with that being said, a little bit off topic. I was going through the PlayStation Network the other day. I was just kind of looking at what was on there for Final Fantasy based stuff. It's still $20 to buy that fucking game. Um, like it for a game that like a lot of people haven't played or had mixed reviews or you'd like to revisit. Like that game's got to be $7.99 on the PlayStation Network. I don't know what it's doing at $19.99 on the PlayStation Network. I know that's a small little bit and complaint, but that's just my 2 cents about that. So, audio dramas, Millie. I don't want to assume one way or the other. I feel like you're a podcast listener, though. Are you a podcast listener?
Sometimes I'm definitely not
Sometimes,
huge, but I've got like a couple that I'm addicted to.
like
And
Materia
now
Junction. I get it. Batman
Materia
Drew
Junction is my
podcast.
number one. I've listened to every episode.
So nice.
I don't blame. Yeah, well, I mean, we only have 2 episodes out. This
I
is the third one, so it's you're not too far deep in. But I when it comes to like audio dramas and stuff, like I don't read very much, so I do listen to a lot of audiobooks. I like audio dramas, things like that. Um, have you ever played Final Fantasy One, the original?
Yeah. Oh my.
That
Sorry. I love to talk about Final Fantasy 1 because it is I've never beaten it because it's so hard. It is like
it
one of
really
the most
is.
difficult games
It's
I've
so hard.
ever played in my life.
It is ridiculous. I don't know how. There's no way if I was 9 or 10 years old in 1998 or 1987. Excuse me, I don't know where I got 1987. There's no way I could have finished that game. I wouldn't have had the patience. I don't know. Maybe games really are easier now than what they were back then, but
They
that game is
definitely are.
way harder than it had to be. Um, this is the area I think that could really benefit from something like this, because there's a lot of good lore with Final Fantasy, with the original Final Fantasy game, but there's not a lot of character development. Like, this is an opportunity for you to do something different and unique, and no one would know otherwise. And I think in a world where we can just turn it on and listen to it while we're doing other tasks. Like I had audio drama on when I was cooking dinner tonight. Like it's a way to be able to consume the content. Um, and I don't think people are going to be as harsh of it not being true to like what they already know. So that's my go-to here. That's the one I think they should do. The one I think they will do, again, if we're taking Final Fantasy VII off the board, I could see them doing some kind of audio drama prequel. I don't know if prequel is the right word, but kind of like that gap in Final Fantasy 16 between when we last see Clive as a young adult to when we see him as a grown man. I could see them trying to tell stories in between there, or potentially telling stories about Jill, for the gap that we got with Jill. So, but I do think Final Fantasy 1 would be a great way for them to go. So, Dad, man, what about you?
Um, so I think your answer is the correct answer because I think audio drama Final Fantasy One like would tick all the boxes. When I was a kid, I didn't really like reading either, but I consumed a lot of like basically the entire Lord of the Rings franchise I did on audiobook. So I did The Hobbit and then I did all three Lord of the Rings books on audio, and it was fantastic. And I love Lord of the Rings, but it was just such an intimidating task to read all those books. Honestly though, like if I were to do one, I would do Final Fantasy 13. And here's why I would do Final Fantasy 13. I think Final Fantasy 13 collectively is probably the least favorite amongst Final Fantasy games, because of the linearity of it, whatever the case is, right? But I think a lot of the issue with Final Fantasy 13 is the gameplay structure. I don't think the combat is all that great. I think it's okay. But I also think the linearity of it really shuts people off. So if I were just to take all of the gameplay aspects out of it and just be able to listen and follow along with the story, I think I would appreciate the game a lot more. So if I'm taking all of the visual stuff out of it and I'm just listening to the story, I think Final Fantasy 13 does have a good story, but I think a lot of the fluff takes away from it. So if you strip it down to the core, I think that would be more well received than it was. That's what I would do.
Millie, how about you? What do you think about this one?
Audio dramas. Honestly, really like your idea of like, like it was just kind of like, how I felt about like diving into like, the storylines and like the character development of like the characters and the players in one. Um, I think that that would be really cool to do as an audio drama. I could really see like something like an audio, like a Final Fantasy podcast, like because there's so much to talk about, and I think you guys are proving that. So I could really see something like this getting like more and more attention. Ah, God, I'm not really sure. Like, I'm trying to think of like the games that I've played through, and I'm not really sure which one. Like, I know 12 wouldn't work as an audio drama. Like, 12 has been so far my least favorite of any of the games that I've played. But
Yeah.
yeah. I think like hearing like something that like of like falls into the world. Yeah, I think like yeah, it's like I was talking about some of the literary books that have come out around 7. I think if they like chose like some of the spaces within the world and really delved more into the life, like in 15, like going into like some of the towns and like the regulars that we're talking to day and like having like separate side stories that like we're listening to them, and like they refer to like Noctis and the main group and the playable characters, but it kind of like delves into its own world. I think that that would be something really cool, but I don't know if that's something Square Enix would particularly want to do because, like you said, like they need to do the things that would make them money.
I think an honorable mention, for one that they could do that I think would really be well received by the audience would be an audio drama based off Braska's pilgrimage. So like a prequel to
Oh,
Final Fantasy X. So have you played Final Fantasy X,
Yeah,
Millie?
yeah,
So
that
like
was
walking
a
through
great
like
one.
with Jet and Braska and Orin, I think that would be a really cool one to do. All right, then the last one here, guys. This is the one that I'm kind of most excited to talk about. It's like a theme park immersive pop up experience. I I don't want to speak for the group, but obviously we're taking Final Fantasy VII out. But the only real answer to this is to build a golden saucer, right? Like that's you have to have that.
oh, that's such a cop out. That's
It's
such a
it's
you
it's
broke your
not,
own
but
rule.
no,
You
I'm just saying
literally
no.
broke your own rule.
I have answers for this. I'm just saying
Oh,
like if we
okay.
were including Final Fantasy VII, it is to have a golden saucer, right? Um Second to that though, I think this is an easy one to answer. It's just a matter of which one you're going to go with. It's to have an airship. Like to have a physical airship that would fly in the air. And I know we're talking about stuff that's never going to happen here, right? This is super fantasy. This is Andrew's like fucking, happiest place on earth type stuff. But could you imagine a flight experience that went a 3 hour flight experience from LA to Dallas and back, and you had the opportunity to be able um, to fly on a mock airship, and everything inside of it was either the airship from Final Fantasy X, which I think would probably be the coolest, most immersive one, because with today, like just coming back from Vegas, seeing the Las Vegas sphere and what you can do with like LED screens and stuff like that, you could walk out into a platform of a illusion that you're outside on that airship with the fucking like serpent dragon thing flying around you and stuff like that. I think that there's a lot of things you could do with an airship style immersive experience. And that's like the one universal, right? Like that's in almost every Final Fantasy game is some form of an airship. And of course the pilot, I don't care what their real name is, but it has to be Sid on
Yeah.
on this airship, right?
Mhm.
So that's my go-to. Will do, like what do I think the kind of things that Final Fan or that Square Enix will do, if you're not talking about Final Fantasy VII, I could see them doing a theatrical play from Final Fantasy IX, like
Mhm.
that the play that's introduced at the beginning into that game. I could see something like that.
Yeah.
But I think if they really wanted to go all out, would make probably no money. I don't. I can't imagine it would have the kind of support to make this financially feasible. But I think an airship would be super fucking cool. So, Millie, where are you at? Airship? Are you flying? Are you coming from LA
Oh
out
my
to
god.
Dallas on an airship?
Count me. I would literally please count me in on that airship. I will stow away. I don't even care. That would be so much fun. Like especially if it were like, yeah, like an airship like experience. I don't know. I would love that. I had a few thoughts. Okay, my first thought was like a Moogle market. Obviously a Moogle
Oh
market.
yeah, that'd be
Like
so
go
Nice.
dope.
like just buy like really cute items, like different like sweet potions would it just be like or like original drinks and like have them. I think that would be adorable, especially if you like I had like costumed characters I hate to say like smaller people, but you never know, like or maybe like robot animatronics. I don't know how exactly it would work out realistically, but I would love to see something like that, just like in a little
That would be
item
really
shop.
cool.
I also had the immediate thought there's always like these really great like horror houses and like experiences that are based on movies. How sick, like I'm sorry, like going back to Seven, but how sick would it be to like have like a horrific immersive experience, like a basically haunted house or haunted walkthrough of like Hojo's lab and like one of like the
Mm.
Nibelheim reactor, with all
Mhm.
of the monsters and everything about to jump out at you. And God bless, it would be really sick to have like this
The
fantastic
Nibelheim
Genova
experience,
at
where
the
it's
end of
like,
it.
come to Nibelheim. Sephiroth will light your whole family on fire. Like it'll be great. Like
Oh
it's
my
like a
gosh.
great experience.
Literally. Yes, like literally. So you go
Uh,
through Genova's
like a
at the
haunted
end.
house.
Genova starts chasing you. You have to run out of the reactor. You run out of the reactor and everything's on fire and Sephiroth is waiting for you. I
Oh,
would
that's great.
That would be wonderful. I would do that.
But remember, Millie, he's not a villain, right, Dad? Man, like Sephiroth's not a
Nope.
villain, so you can't have
He's
that.
not.
This is obviously inside jokes. Millie's like, what the hell are you guys talking
I
about? But
totally get
He's
no.
not a villain.
I feel like everybody has this argument. I love it. Like between you guys, I got the gist of it. Hey, Final Fantasy VII is full of complicated villains. Like one that I really highlight in the fan film is Rufus. I love Rufus's
yeah,
character. I do. I love his whole arc in Advent Children. But yeah, complicated villain. And he's definitely the complicated villain in my story. But so it's like I'm more of like Genova was a way more like powerful villain than Sephiroth. I'm sorry, I do have like Sephiroth is terrifying, and like with a potential that he could have gotten to if Cloud didn't keep getting in the way, would have been like
Mhm.
extraordinary. Like as we saw, like just the limit, like the smaller limits of what he achieved. Genova's the really terrifying one. Like that's the real villain. Knocked out the whole ancient civilization. Like, yeah.
Such a good story. Dad man, what about you? What do you think? And what immersive experience would open up your pocketbook?
Um, I would really enjoy a Renaissance fair in the style of Final Fantasy IX, like when they're in
Mm.
Lindblum in the beginning of the game. That would be really cool. Like, those little markets and shops, kind of like what Millie said, but also like the play, like you said. But I would love to see somebody like walking around dressed up as Vivi, like a little kid dressed up as Vivi, just kind of walking around. I think that would be really cool. That's I think would be easy for them to do because I feel like that fits that vibe. What I would love for them to do, like I would love to like go see like a garden, like if they made like an actual garden, like Balam Garden or Galbadia Garden, like a school type, like a college. I don't know, like Penn State goes ape shit, and they're like, we're gonna convert Penn State into Balam Garden for like a month or something. That would be super cool. Just because I love the idea of like the gardens in Final Fantasy VIII being like the school for the kids, but also like at a moment's notice it converts into like this airship just to like carry them to safety. That would be super cool. I don't know, man. The ingenuity behind the gardens in Final Fantasy VIII has always fascinated me. So I would love to see like an actual garden that you could go like tour and then, oh hey, we're gonna go take off now, and then just fly around in the air like in a huge school. That would be so dope.
You'd have to make sure that at all times though that you're playing like the Balam Garden music,
Yeah,
like
yeah, of course.
softly in the
Like
background, man, because that
a
is some of
one to
the
one. Yeah,
that is some of the like I don't know like I put that on just when I need to like calm my own spirit. Like it's such a
yeah.
soothing piece of music. So listen, it doesn't matter what we think. It matters what you guys think, right? Like if you're out there, you're listening to this, how would you love to be able to see Final Fantasy go transmedia, movies, television shows, pop up immersive events? Put it in the comments below. The only rule: stay away from as much Final Fantasy VII as you can. Give us some diversity here on what we're looking at. I'd love to be able to kind of hear your thoughts, and we can keep the conversation going in the comments below. So, last plug again, if you haven't heard us mention it already, www.avalanchefanfilm.com. Please go support Millie and what they're doing. It's going to be super awesome. It's going to be very unique, and everything I've seen for it so far has looked just absolutely incredible. So, Millie, thank you again for being on Materia Junction. You're our first ever party member. Like this is awesome, right? So, do you have a certain job select? Are you like um what would it be if we gave you one?
I'd be healer. I can't, like I said,
You a white
Air's
mage?
my girl. I would end up being the mage, the healer. I've always been a big magic user, even seeing what it does to my stats. So yeah, that would definitely be my role. Part of me wants to say thief as well, but no, I'd be the mage of the group. But it's been a pleasure talking to you guys. Like you guys are great. I haven't gotten the chance to nerd out on Final Fantasy since the Seventh Heaven pop up. Like finally ended here in Los Angeles. They do have like a Square Enix cafe that I need to go to. I will definitely be posting a video from there sometime. But yeah, thank you so much for letting me rant about the fan film. I'm really excited. Like, yeah, you can follow us on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, all the platforms, YouTube. Millie Makes Movies. Our production company is Big Dog Little Dog Films. So if you see that attached, that's us too. But it's gonna be great. I think like the big thing is like, there's gonna be a lot of like people that are behind this. There's a lot of people that are ragging on it, but the thing like that I've been really wanting to highlight is like there's like millions of Final Fantasy fans of different ages of across the world, different countries, different age gaps, different all walks of life, and like we all are really passionate enough to spend like hundreds of dollars on the remake of one game and be constantly paying attention. So if there are 50,000 out there that want to throw a dollar our way, then we've got a feature film, you guys. I mean, that's pretty great.
Yeah, absolutely. And a film that, you know, with your donation, like you're going to you know have an investment in, right? And you're going to see that come to life because you were willing to be able to donate and give a little bit, right? So definitely go support, go check it out. And make sure in the comments below to drop and let us know what you thought about today's topics. Let us know what you think about the upcoming Avalanche fan film. Let us know what you think about in the world of movies, TV shows, like we said before. Where would you adapt? Where would you go? Dad, man, little bit of insight to how we do these. We alternate weeks and or alternate episodes as far as like setting up the show notes and all that kind of stuff. So I know next episode we got something pretty special coming up. Do you want to give us a little bit of a teaser of what we're looking at for our topic for next episode?
Yeah. I've been following a content creator, a smaller content creator on TikTok. Shout out to X Dom Plays. He's had a lot of interesting takes on Final Fantasy. I know he commented on our first video when we were talking about like the multiversal aspects of Final Fantasy. So I kind of wanted to just get him on board to do an episode with us and kind of just talk about Final Fantasy and like the state it's in currently and some improvements that could be made to the game. And I think one of the most interesting topics you had actually brought it to my attention earlier this week that I want to talk about with him is combat system. Does the future of Final Fantasy have to stay action based, or can it go back to turn based combat? So I think that would be super interesting, as well as open world encounters versus random encounters would be another interesting conversation piece as well. So that's just a little preview. It's what's in the chamber moving forward.
I love that. All right, we got one last question for you, Millie. You're our first guest ever, like we mentioned before. This is not in our show notes. I just thought of it, and I thought, you know what? We're going to just ask every single guest this. Arguably, one of the most disappointing sequels of all time in any media, I would believe, would have to be Final Fantasy X-2. Wasn't the game we expected there to be. I have a theory that personally, I think K-pop Demon Hunter is the sequel we should have got for Final Fantasy
Hell
X-2.
yeah. Hell yeah.
So I just need to know, you know, if you're on board with mine and Dad Man's theory that is the sequel we deserved for Final Fantasy X-2. Are you a Final Fantasy X-2 purist? Do you love X-2?
No, I feel like I had a lot of issues with 10 too. You know, I'm glad that they kind of wrapped up, but it was just like 10 lives rent free in my heart. 10 2, I just really didn't care for. Didn't even finish the game. I like this take. I like this theory that it's actually K-pop Demon Hunters. That's flawless. Like, yeah, Yuna
Go
would fit in just this perfectly.
go beat 10. Save Spirit from Sin, watch Tita's fade away in a non-existence, and then go watch K-pop Demon Hunter for your sequel. I think that's a great way to be able to end the episode here. So remember, the lights of the crystals may dim, guys, but the data is written. So we found our Moogle. So for all the warriors of lights out there, don't forget to save your progress. And again, this is Materia Junction. Thanks, guys.